5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Oakley dokley.
Welcome to Sacrilicious with Robin and Snerts, a Simpsons review podcast. I'm your lovable nerd Snerts, aka Joshua Stearns, and joining me is the equally delightful Robin. Don't have a cow, coward.
Hey yo, what's up, Josh? It's great to see you.
It's good to see you too, man. We are here for some more Simpsons fun in the hot, hot sun.
Yes, we are. I'm in Georgia. Yeah, I'm in Atlanta. It's hot. It's better to stay inside and do this. Let me tell you.
You got that wet heat Georgia action going.
Oh.
From your pitch to the streets.
That's right. It's. I was saying to somebody, how do you go out, in Atlanta? And I said, well, you just all share an experience of just being soaked the whole time with sweat and feeling self-conscious. It's somewhat creates camaraderie, I think.
You don't have somebody walking around in a Mr. Freeze suit being like, I'm better than you.
Josh, I do want to point out that I already smacked the table. One time I've been listeners were talk beforehand to some production meeting trying to get some stuff tightened up. This is our first podcast that we're both running, and one of the things is I like to smack my hand on my desk and it comes through very hot, so I'm getting better, Josh.
I also liked when we were drinking whiskeys, which I'm having one today, the ice clinking. As someone who's doing more of the editing, and I haven't done this before in any kind of like hobby, and so then you start to pick up on things, and when you're listening to podcasts, you hear it on a whole different level when you're doing editing and post-production, and you notice these little things. And like, for example, we were praising Conan in our last episode, and I do appreciate when like somebody like Matt Gorley kind of calls them out. It's like, you got to smack your lips or something like that before you do something, and then we have to all edit that in post. And he's like, no, you don't. He's like, yeah, actually we do, and it's a lot of work. And I also feel your pain, because my goal personally is to stop saying because I say that so often, and sometimes I say it twice back to back because I'm stalling for time, and I need to just kind of let my like voice go silent if I need to, or not feel the need to always fill the air because I'm like connecting thoughts, or I get a little stumbled, or I miss my points in the notes. So
it is one of the hardest things to do, and I think we're both, because we listen to ourselves a lot in this process.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, by the time an episode comes out, I probably heard it at least 4 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that we're trying to do all sorts of things, trying to make it a little tighter.
Yeah.
Trying to make it a little bit long-winded last time.
Maybe this isn't their first episode, or maybe it is. And if it is your first episode, let me explain how it works. I pick an episode of The Simpsons, Robin picks an episode of The Simpsons, and then we talk. It's that simple. So now, without further ado, let's jump back into our first Simpsons episode. And we're going back to the usual routine here. We're going to have Robin lead, and he picked an episode called The Debarted that aired season 19, it's season 19 of episode 13, directed by Matthew Nastuk and written by Joel H. Cohen. And the first air date is March 2nd, 2008. So I would like to start off with saying that this is a little fun, because now we can go play like that time in history, because we're finally out of the early 90s. For the last few episodes, I'm like, I was still a kid. I was still a kid. So in 2008, this is when I would have been dropping out of the teaching credential program at Canoga Park High School here in the San Fernando Valley. And I would be desperately trying to figure out what the fuck I was going to do with the rest of my life, because I thought I was going to become a teacher. And I ended up looking around my room, and I saw a stack of video games. I'm like, hey, maybe I should go work in the video game industry. And then I got a job at EA, which started my 2 years of video game testing. So what were you up to in 2008, Robin?
This is when I was already at Chiat Day in LA.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
where you and I met some years later,
Cool.
and was working and enjoying Los Angeles to its fullest. I had some money finally, which was nice. And when listeners, not everybody's going to know this certainly, that I went out to Los Angeles to pursue my dreams as an actor, and I did not enjoy the business as it was in Los
Considering
Angeles in the early 2000s.
considering I met you working finance in an ad agency.
Exactly. So I, started
You weren't
temping
waiting
in
tables,
an
but like
advertising agency. Well, I tell you, Josh, I did not think that I was going to be able to get a job with a corporate company, because I don't wear suits, I don't wear ties. If I
yeah,
try,
I
they
hear
will be
you.
off by halfway through the day. I'd just been through that at a PR firm, and where I did all of this good work, and they were like, "Yeah, but you don't look the part." So that was nice because you could wear flip flops and cuss, and so I
Oh,
did
Shite
very
was a
well
great
there.
first advertising gig.
Oh,
I will
it was
for
a
all
really
the
good atmosphere.
critiques that I could lay at their feet for various reasons. I will always praise the fact that they gave me a start who had no background whatsoever, and now I've been able to make a career out of it. I mean, I've been doing it since 2010, and I've been
Yep.
at the same company, D&G, for like 9 years this month in July, or next
You and
month
I
in
both,
July.
yeah, got our
So,
careers that way. All
um,
right, so
but
on
enough
to
of
our
that
next career.
nonsense. We're back to the Departed. Thank you for the day jobs, but now on to the hobby. And
Well, so
why did you
certainly,
pick this episode, sir?
well, this is an episode I had never seen before. And we
Oh,
had talked
excellent.
about it early on in this process. We were picking future episodes and what we wanted to do. And we got very worried we were going to pick all of the good ones. This is before we realized that there's so many seasons of great episodes that we did not have to worry about
Correct.
that.
Correct.
Certainly. And so wanted to pick some that I hadn't seen in later seasons. Season 19, 2008, I really wasn't watching it consistently anymore. So I liked the name of the episode, and that's why I chose it.
Okay. I did some looking into my own collection, and I was dumbfounded. Like I almost should have had that Jinkies queued up because maybe it's a mystery, but I thought I had all seasons 1 through 20 on DVD of The Simpsons, and it turns out I was missing 19. So when you put this up on there, I went to good old Amazon and decided to get it, so I was able to watch the very uneventful DVD commentary. So I think I have only seen this episode 2 or 3 times prior to the viewings for our podcast. And that's a little strange in my book, but it also makes sense because we're getting up to season 19. And really anything like north of 13 starts to get a little hazy for me because I have seen every single episode of The Simpsons at least once, with the exception of season 35. But that means the later on seasons, I probably have only seen 1 or 2 times maximum, versus the older stuff like seasons 1 through 10, which I have seen more times than I can count on my fingers and my toes.
Exactly. I mean, that's the same with me, is that I have not seen all of them.
Yeah.
I've seen up through around season 15, 16, 17. I've seen all of them. And then at that point, I stopped, and have seen many, many, many of the episodes in syndication some Sunday nights, but have not watched them all as I did religiously earlier on. So this episode in 2008 is beyond what we consider that great era, and but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and
Cool.
you had said particularly you liked the couch gag on this one starting out, which I also did.
Yeah. So I had a light bright when I was a kid.
Me too.
I met, I was born in the 80s and I grew up in the 90s, right? But in that, post 80, I want to say 86 to 89, right? I still had the 80s stuff. And we totally had a light bright. I wonder how many of these little things mom stepped on, that we've accidentally dropped. But it's a cute little toy, and
the little pegs.
For those who don't know, you basically put like a black piece of paper, against a grate with a bunch of holes in it, and then you can put colored lights in to form like squirrels or
It's a
alien ship or
pegboard,
something
and you
else.
get little plastic colored
And I
pegs.
just was like, wait, it's not 1988, it's 2008, and they're going with the light bright joke. And I was like, bold
Oh, they're
choice, bold
pandering. They were
choice.
pandering.
Yeah,
They needed viewers at this point.
right. And I will say that the guest star on this is Topher Grace, and he was on the commentary, so that was kind of neat.
Oh, cool.
To hear that guy coming, like for all his terrible Spider-Man 3 movies, he's in the 70s show.
God.
And I actually liked him in the Predator movie.
Sam Raimi,
pretty good.
what have you done?
And they also had one of my favorite artists on the Simpsons commentary, which was David Silverman. I like David a lot. And I actually got to meet him when I was at CSUN because he was giving a presentation.
Okay.
And I am such an idiot sometimes, Robin, because I went up to him afterwards to get an autograph, and I still have his autograph hanging out in my bedroom here. He signed a calendar picture for me.
Oh, very cool.
And I asked him, I'm like, so Josh and Bill have the night off, and I'm like why? Why was that? Like, you're meeting somebody in your favorite show. He's like a huge artist and like has entertained you for eons, right? And you come up with some weird casual thing like you're friends with Josh Weinstein and Bill Oakley.
Oh, jeez.
Afterwards, my friend was like, "What the fuck was that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know what that was." So David Silverman,
he gave you his autograph. He didn't have you arrested. So
I'm sorry, David, for being a schmuck. Sorry for that tangent, but yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because like it's just like one of those things. Like I met Jimmy Kimmel too, and I was wearing all 49ers gear. And he was on the Kevin and Bean show. So like I was getting one of their Christmas albums signed.
Oh, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. And, so I go see him and I'm wearing all 49ers gear in a like very like warm summer or winter of the Valley. It's not like it was that cold out, right? But I had the big puffy jacket and the jersey and the hat. And he's like, "You really must like the Cowboys." I was like, "You son of a bitch."
He's a comedian, Josh.
Yeah.
He ain't got better than that.
I mean, it's pretty good. And I just kind of laughed and was like, yeah, that's good. That's really funny. But it's weird. Sometimes like I meet these people who like, I don't, go from anywhere from celebrity to admire to like, oh, that's kind of neat. And sometimes I just like say the stupidest things.
I do that with everybody I meet, Josh. It's great.
Yeah, but it feels different when it's like a famous person for some reason, right? Like if it's the crazy homeless guy down the street, who cares? But if it's, like Alec
Josh,
Baldwin,
you gotta let it go. You gotta let it go, Josh.
No, these are memories. These are good memories.
The beauty of getting older,
regrets.
Josh. I'm about 7-8 years older than you. Is that? Yeah. You just stop giving a shit.
Yeah, you were definitely born in a different decade than I was.
77, the greatest year to be born ever. So, The Debarted, obviously a play here on the movie The Departed, which was was adapted and directed by Martin Scorsese and had every actor. It was a huge, huge hit.
Yes.
Alec Baldwin, Jack Nicholson. You've got Matt Damon, and you have what's our face? That
Leonardo da Vinci, not Da Vinci, DiCaprio.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci.
Leonardo DiCaprio. And so they did another one, and we didn't plan this one either, but it's another play on a movie. Sorry.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg.
Oh yeah. All set in Boston, and the movie Departed is actually based on another film, an international film called Infernal Affairs. I believe it's Korean. I'm gonna have to
that sounds right. Yeah. I know it was from an Asian market, and I believe, I don't know if you said him, but it's also Jack Nicholson, and it might be one of his last roles.
I mean,
there's a scene with him and a prostitute and cocaine that like really excited me.
Look, I mean, it's worth seeing. Certainly. But it's not great. It's one of the things that they call out at the end of this, we'll get to. So we begin in the car. And one of the things that we've talked about is how some of these episodes aren't as well written. And this is one of these things where we start getting kind of gags put together instead of a through plot. So this episode, without any like lead up to the main storyline, starts out in the car, and Marge is driving Homer's car. And the kids are in the back fighting. And Marge is having trouble, as she says, because she's driving a different car. It's Homer's car, and the kids are distracting her, and it leads to her getting into an accident. But the scene itself is very funny.
I can totally relate to Marge and not
100%.
feeling comfortable driving because I've had
I'm
the same
terrible
car.
at it.
I've had
I'm
the same
horrible
car.
when I get into a new car. Like
Yeah,
you get in the car with me, and like I'll hit the accelerator too hard, then I'll hit the brake too hard. People are like, "What is it?" Like I'll
right.
take turns differently. I
I mean, I've
don't
been
know.
driving the same car for 18 years and I drive stick. So, like, one, I'm getting into an automatic these days because stick shifts have gone the way of the dinosaur.
Oh yes.
And so I completely relate. And I also thought it was completely random that
Oh,
Homer, like a throwaway joke, much like, the
she's
uncle,
looking around in the car.
dude, the taxi license, gun, and meter. Where did that come
She's got
from?
it so she looks at the
That came from
visor. There's a
nowhere.
taxi license. She's
Right.
like, And then she looks at the glove box, and there's a running taxi meter,
Right.
and a pistol.
And you think that would come back. I thought like initially that would come back into play because it's like
Nope.
a gangster movie. Nope.
Just random.
Yeah,
It was
random.
100% random.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the scene. It is funny. Even that, the randomness of it was funny.
Yeah.
But I do love getting a Bart and Lisa fighting scene because that's something
Yes,
that was in the
very
first
cute.
season classic. So we have a classic Bart and Lisa getting on each other's sibling nerves. Like Bart is bored, so he smacks himself and goes, "Lisa hit me," and then Marge is yelling, "Stop it, kids!" And he goes,
Yeah, I mean they kind of go back and forth, and then I like how Lisa's trump card was the cleats.
So Bart is like says like the boundary is my feet and pushes her over to the door. She's squished up against the window. It's 40 minutes. And then so she just starts kicking him like in the face. And he's like, it's not funny with cleats on.
Yeah, if you guys are Mortal Kombat fans, you know Liu Kang's like kick that he does bicycle kick across the screen.
Exactly. That's what Lisa's doing on his face.
Doing with cleats to Bart's
with
face.
With cleats on.
Yeah, I also like how who do they hit it's Mole Man, right? They hit
it's Mole Man in the car in front.
I don't think Mole Man makes it. Do you think Mole Man makes it? I don't think he makes it.
Oh, they are immortal, all of these characters, until they are officially dead.
So he's just napping from the suffocation.
Yes. He will be revived.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, Josh and I were talking about the airbag explodes in his face, and he's too weak of an old man to move, so it just suffocates him, and
he's only 33 years old,
as if he died.
Yeah, no, it was pretty funny. I love a good Mole Man is one of my favorite just cut to random joke characters. He's fantastic.
So Marge is like, "Oh, I wrecked the car," and so then we get into the actual storyline, which has not started until now, and Bart is late to school, and he runs into Miss Krabappel's class, and he's like, "What does he say?" He says, "Sorry, I'm late. I was in a car crash. Many were hurt, but no one cool." But he's like, "What? Who's the new meat in my seat?" And there's a new guy in class, and they introduce him. His name is Donnie from another school that he was kicked out of, and he's in Bart's seat, and so Willie has to bring in an extra seat for him, and it's like a toilet that he's
I thought
like
that was pretty funny.
crafted a shitty wooden desk onto. It's
not even a clean toilet; it's a used toilet.
Yeah. Oh god, it certainly is.
It's like the city of Springfield gave new low flow toilets to the elementary school, and Willie kept a few in the basement just in case he needed to make a new desk with the old toilets.
Just in case he needed it.
Yeah.
So this new kid Donnie, he's cool. He's like stereotypical cool kid, and he's the new bad dude. And he's obviously encroaching on Bart's, Joker, class clown kind of, who he is to his friends there. He's the one, the bad boy, the bad dude.
Right.
And so he's like making fun.
I do say he looks cool. I like the design of like the hoodie with the leather jacket and like, the blonde hair that's kind of coned back a little.
Yeah. He looks like Matt Damon in the movie.
Yes. Yeah. And Topher Grace does, I think, a great job as a guest star on this one.
Yes. I'm a Topher Grace fan.
Me too.
Not that I like the 70s show. I
Yeah.
didn't like that movie with Sam
The
Raimi.
Spider-Man 3. Yeah, Matthew Dawson, if you're listening, fuck Spider-Man 3. It's a terrible movie. I don't care what you say.
So Bart is clearly threatened. He's sitting on the used toilet seat now. The kid is great. He goes, Krabappel, your name sounds like Crabapple. Just go sour, waiting to be picked. Krabappel goes, pretty much. And then he high fives Nelson. He's taking over, you know. So we cut out to the playground, and everybody's gathered around. Bart's like, "What's going on?" He walks up, and Donnie, the new kid, has grabbed a trash bag and put it on the seesaw. He jumps off the table and it goes flying and smacks into the school. And everybody's just loving it. And Bart is threatened, certainly. I actually have the clip here. And this is just after he launches the bag at the school.
Isn't he awesome?
When he grows up, I want to be like me.
Look, new kid, I'm the head hamster in this habit trail, capiche?
Well, maybe there's a new guinea pig in your cage. Capiche that?
Oh, I capiche. I capiche just fine.
Oh, well, you just keep on capiching.
Nice.
I love that line.
I love the animation of the next part where Bart tries to do the same thing and fails. So like the trash bag goes all over his face.
He does. He lines up the trash bag, jumps on it.
And I love how like they make the banana as like a mustache, the banana and the oranges are like the eyes, and the spaghetti is like a hair. So like
it blows up all over him, and
the overall like, you know, prank, I give it like a 1, but the animation of like the garbage hitting his face afterwards, I give that a 4. I think it was great.
They make a catapult out of the seesaw. There's the funny line where when that happens to Bart, and Nelson goes, seesaw.
Oh, instead of ha ha. Oh, I missed that. Nice.
So now we cut to our B plot, which the opening scene set up.
I completely forgot about. I forgot. So this happens sometimes where I forget which A plot is tied to which B plot. Mm-hmm. So like I knew this B plot existed. In fact, I like the B plot better than the A plot in this episode.
Well, and this is one where the B plot and the A plot don't intersect.
Very similar very similar to Homer's Enemy, where like Bart has the warehouse. It's just like it's just, you know, they have these in the vault.
It's a gag.
Let's loop it in.
This is a particularly good gag, though.
It's great.
So the gag is Marge has wrecked the car. Homer takes it into the shop. The guy's he's like, "Oh, this is busted, fella." And so he offers Homer, while he fixes it, a loaner car, and this is the loaner car is the entirety of the B plot here.
And the loaner car is so much better in quality than his original car. So this is very much like me, who, and this is why I mentioned it earlier, is driving an 18-year-old Toyota Corolla. Okay, folks, I still have a 6-disc CD changer. So I related so hard on this because my mom came to town and she was driving a brand new Jeep vehicle of a SUV class. I don't remember the model, but it's all new bells and whistles. And I had to like help her park it, you know, every once in a while or move the car around. Right.
Does your car have ashtrays?
Yeah, it does. They say they're not ashtrays, but they're ashtrays.
That's an old car, Josh.
And they don't have cigarette lighters, but they still have the power outlet, you know, so you can plug like I can still plug stuff in there if I need to, and actually still charge my phone through the cigarette lighter with an adapter.
Oh, good.
But so anyway, I
because if you take your car, even if it's an old car, have you ever gotten a loaner?
I've never gotten a loaner because thankfully, like auto repairs that I have, like with my work from home schedule, I can usually do, and like I live walking distance from three mechanics.
Really, rich people only get this because even if they have an older car, they're the only ones that take their cars to a dealership. I love this scene, and I love this B plot as well. The from the initial interaction to the last, the first one is, you know, Homer's like, "This is the kind of car you see in commercials," which is so on point. And the guy's like, "I'm gonna offer you a loaner," and Homer's like, "A loaner?" Like, he's
Homer's never heard of this before.
He goes, "How much am I paying for this?" He goes, "Nothing." He goes, "It seems like a lot." And the guy goes, On the contrary, it's really well written. This is a
Yeah,
well written
it
part, and
is.
it's
And
hilarious.
I like it because it's the inverse of what you see in popular movies like The Mask at the time of the 90s, where a loaner car would be like a beater. It would be like this piece of shit vehicle
Oh
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the seedy
With
mechanic
the
gives you.
name of the
Right.
dealership on the side. Yeah.
Right. Or like, stolen taxi or former
But it's
NYPD bingo.
wonderful car. Like it's an amazing
No, it looks
car,
cool.
and that
Looks
is that
good.
is kind of the crux of the whole thing.
Yeah, even for 2008, which again, my car is from 2006. So it
And
was made.
Homer is sitting there going, "You're gonna just give me this nice car because my old car is all beat up," and he's just
Right.
cracking up like, "You guys are idiots." He
Am I
just
going to
keeps
be able to
saying, "You're
hear?
idiots."
Am I going to be able to hear him do this? I think I can hear him do this.
Yeah, well, there's hard. I get part of the that in there. This is him laughing at them.
You people are idiots! That's the driver of a loaner car. Much better than a driver of my normal car.
That is one of my favorite Homer scenes ever. Him singing "Driver of a
Really?
Loaner Car,
Nice.
much better than." So he's out driving. He's clearly just loving this thing. He runs into Lenny and Carl. Carl's like, "Ooh, a new car." He's like, "It's a loaner." He's like, "What kind of song does the horn play?" And Homer's like, "None." And they're like, "Oh." So Homer's taking around showing everybody that he's got this new loaner car and bragging about it. He shows Marge and he shows everybody else, and then he runs into Bart. Literally, he's on a
Literally
skateboard,
runs into Bart.
and Homer is trying to get his attention. Just keeps ramming him in the skateboard with the car.
Yeah, so obviously Homer has no issues driving a car he's never had before.
Yes. He's loving it, but he's dying to get Bart to enjoy it with him. He's trying to get somebody to get in this car and see this amazing car with him. And so Bart gets in and he's sad. And that's when Homer's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "There's this kid at school."
And
Would you say?
I would like to take the line that Homer says to cheer him up. So he's kind of down and out, right? And then Homer says, "Son, I know when we first met, we didn't really hit it off, but since then, I've really come to respect you. And unlike love, respect can't be bought." So that's probably my favorite line, or actually, sorry, that's one of my 3 favorite lines of this episode was that.
Oh, I agree. I have that highlighted and bolded on my thing because it is, I know when we first met, we didn't really hit it off.
Yeah, that's
son
but
saying
so
that,
honest.
father saying that to his son.
Yeah,
it is so.
I mean, it's very
perfect.
reminiscent of when he was like, "Oh, I thought I could get you to do this, but I was wrong. Why should you pay for my mistakes?" Like Homer has these parenting moments that are really sentimental and awesome, even though he's a complete buffoon.
And we also have an established relationship with Bart and Homer that lasts through the whole series. That is amazing,
right?
Because then he's trying to get him to enjoy this car with him.
Yeah,
and they love doing silly stuff like this.
And what do they do?
Bart's the only one.
They start playing fucking
another
Weatherman.
random ass scene
so
of
weird.
Them. He turns on the AC and he's like, "We're gonna watch the AC fight the heater," and it creates like a storm cloud.
Weird. It's so weird.
It's just and then like, "We're gonna bring the defogger into it." It creates a tornado, and they're like, "Oh, get down!" It's the two of them just bouncing around the inside of the car by a tornado they created. So,
yeah, that's
random.
I did say in my notes, I like the weather bits inside the car. No, because Homer and Bart were having so much
Jerry's
fun.
Out still.
You know what I mean? That's what I loved about it.
Oh, it's great. It's exactly, and I do too.
It's not
all
the
right,
joke
Jerry's back
about.
in.
It's not about the joke about the weather occurring
It's the two of
inside
them
the car. It's the two of
being
them having
goofy
their
together.
own fun and being goofy. That I was like,
in 100% joy, Josh. Like,
yeah.
So then we head over to back to the school, and Homer has given Bart an idea. He's like, "Just keep after it. You're awesome." And he's like, "Thanks, Dad. I'm going to go and do the best prank ever." So we head back to the school, and we have a great scene where Principal Skinner and Willie are in the gym playing basketball.
Oh, that's
And
good. Yeah.
Skinner's all into it, and Willie is not. And Skinner's like dribbling terribly, and then he shoots the ball. It goes way over the backboard, and he gets a side eye at Willie. He goes, "Foul." I just love that piece.
And what I always loved about this like Skinner Willie moment is that those kids, you know, and I would probably do it too. I'm not going to pretend that I never tried some nonsense, but you know, you would totally own their ass because you're a junior high kid and you fucking make a great basket, and they're like, foul.
I loved it. It's so good. While they're in the gym, Bart is snuck into the locker room and puts metal plates into Skinner's shoes. And this is him plotting out his big prank for the school. And so we cut to an assembly, and everybody's in the auditorium, and Skinner's up on stage unveiling the new school lunch flex plan.
Yeah.
Which flex plans, if you don't know, you know, baseball teams use them often where on the good games where they're playing other good teams because they're terrible, they jack up the prices. So, you know,
is that what that relates to?
On Tuesday when we're having pizza, it's going to be triple the price. So I just love the idea of a flex plan. It is insidious.
I also like there's like points.
Lunches.
There's points you can get, but it does not include meat, dairy, or vegetables.
Exactly. It's like a rewards program, which is another complete scam. By the way. We don't need to get into that today, but
well, and at this point in the
Bart,
DVD commentary, which was pretty boring for this episode.
Yeah, you were saying.
But Topher mentioned how much he appreciated the show, and he's a fan. And he grew up with it because I don't know how old is he, but he can't be much older or younger than you or I, right?
Yeah, I think he's probably right in between us.
Right. So hot. Sorry, that I don't know why that distracted me.
I like a twink.
Woo. Anyway, I do. It's a trip though, because could you imagine watching a show growing up and then being a guest star on that show?
Hell yeah.
Like that. I can only imagine what kind of like mind fuck that is for Topher. And
well, I mean, exactly, because it's amazing, but it's also so much pressure, you know?
Yeah, right. And I just think that's cool. And that's the one thing I got around from the DVD commentary was that it was really cool that someone who grew up as a fan was able to become a guest star. And the other one is the Simpsons movie, because they talked about that more than the actual episode.
We're going to do this an episode.
I agree. Everybody from the commentary is right that the Simpsons movie was excellent. So that's probably the last you're going to hear about me mentioning the commentary.
Well, so you mentioning it in the scene, because this scene is really fun, is that Bart has hidden under the stage with magnets, and he uses these now connected to Skinner's shoes to basically make him dance around. And hey, what does he say? He's like, the children are laughing at him because his like legs are going in funny directions, and he's like, these movements are involuntary, don't laugh. And it's a funny scene. He's making him do all these weird things and moving all over the place. I love at one point they're showing under the stage, and Bart only takes one of them and runs like 20 feet away. Yeah. So he's like, the laws of physics are either tearing Principal Skinner apart, or this is a cartoon. But it's hilarious.
As a middle-aged person, I started to think, ow, my back, my hip, my knees.
It's like, ow, my groin.
Yeah, all the things.
That one.
All the things.
And Bart goes, this is almost enough to make me want to know how magnets work. Nah.
Right.
Typical Bart. And so, you know, he does this crazy great scene. He throws Skinner out the back door, like slides him out, and he falls into this bucket of retainers, this big bin of containers. He comes back and he's the hero. He comes up through the stage and everybody's cheering. He jumps out. He starts crowd surfing. So he's won his audience back. He's won the school back. And of course, Skinner's pissed. And so he comes and he's like, until I find out who did this, no one is leaving, and nobody's talking.
Millhouse
He
says
goes
something
like
along the
that.
lines like, "What if we have after school activities?"
What if we have after school? It's so
Yeah.
those are so fun.
Well, and here's the weirdest part to me is Donnie takes the rap for it.
Well, so before that is there's a great gag when I catch this person, I'm gonna throw the book away. He's like,
Oh,
I'm really
right.
gonna punish this person. And he throws away the punishment book. He's like, and I'm gonna use this one. It's the Catholic school punishment book.
Yeah.
That's got a kid crucified on the front.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh, it's pretty
yeah,
funny.
it was okay for me.
Josh, you're wrong. I don't know how to tell you any other
That's
way.
fine. I've been
So
wrong
yeah,
before.
so then
I'll be
Donnie
wrong
takes.
again.
So then, yes, Donnie takes the fall for it, which is selfless, and Bart's like, why did you take the fall for it? He's like, I like
Very
your
good
style,
question,
kid.
Bart.
And
Very
they're going to
good
become
question.
friends now,
Yeah.
And Bart's like, I take care of those. I actually have a clip here. He goes,
Well, remember this. Bart Simpson takes care of his friends. Come see me when you get out.
and so he does exactly that. Donnie has gone into the principal's office, and Skinner is like, I'm going to give it to you. Congratulations. And it turns out, Josh, plot twist, that Donnie is a mole that Chalmers and Skinner have brought in to take down Bart Simpson.
Wait, how do I know
And it's like,
a rat?
yeah, you got into the circle. You got into Bart's circle. You're in.
I don't know how I would understand if a rat was present without a rat being shown on the screen.
Yes,
so if I could
exactly.
just interject real quick, one of the things that
Wait,
I like
was
about
there a rat in that scene?
I don't know. I wasn't.
No, I don't think
honestly.
so. Okay,
I was probably typing notes. So what I like is they're kind of setting up things where we have this dynamic where it's Skinner and Chalmers versus Nelson, Millhouse, and Bart.
Mm-hmm.
And then Donnie is obviously now the one who's interplaying between
the double
two
agent.
teams.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
But I do like the teams, right? Because so often we see these kids, as adversaries, depending on the episode, specifically thinking of like Bart the General. And then same with Chalmers and Skinner, where famously
they're great.
Like Chalmers and Skinner like are usually adversaries, like where Skinner is nervous because Chalmers is going to show up and do something. But for this one, like I kind of like how we have our two respective teams.
But the Chalmers Skinner relationship in this is amazing. Like they get some good.
It's neat. It's neat. I like how it evolved because like
there's this.
It is one of those relationships
we have actually.
Oh yeah,
the two of them in that scene. And I don't know why I find this so funny.
We're going to put Bart Simpson away for a long, long time.
By law, the most we can give him is a 10-day suspension.
Well, that's long to a kid.
I don't know why. He's just so like snippy, like, well, that's long to a kid.
Right. So they still have that same dynamic of like Chalmers kind of being like so annoying because Chalmers is one of the few people who are normal in Springfield. Yeah. He's one, no, he is. And
ain't nobody normal in Springfield, but
yeah, yes. But Chalmers like is in the S tier of normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's putting up with Skinner, who is probably the best principal they actually can muster from this fucking wackadoo town. So so Chalmers is still kind of frustrated.
A lot happens,
right? That he has to deal with Skinner, but he would rather
pretty much every time we see either one of them, something is going on.
Correct. Yeah. And then what's
then they let the kid go, but Bart sees like I'm gonna pretend you don't like me and let Bart see, so he dresses him down. Skinner's dressing Donnie down in the hall. Must have here, what does he say? I'm gonna be on you like a numerator on a denominator. Terrible joke. And Bart sees it and is like, oh man, this guy really stuck his neck out for me. So he's like, come with me. And Bart has adopted this general demeanor where he's the Don, welcome to my world. Now that you're in, we're going to treat you well. And so they head off to, what'd you say?
Don Barto.
Don Barto. So they head off to the treehouse, which is the mafia lair that they've set up. And this is kind of how they um, show it. Is it's very nice and inviting, and there's a great scene where he pulls out would be cigars, in the real movie,
Right.
and it's
Right.
and it's blue vines in a like a Havana cigar box. He's like, oh, blue vines. I've only seen red vines, but it's like they only sell them in Europe. I have them imported. Um,
Okay,
I actually have a
question.
clip of that one too that I like real quick.
Would you eat blue vines?
Oh hell yeah, I'd try one. I mean, I
No,
generally
I would
don't
not.
like the
Looks so
blue
gross.
flavored.
Looks so gross.
Oh,
I'm
do you
sorry.
eat red vines? Red vines.
Red
pretty
vines are
gross.
fine. Black licorice though is nasty, and so like black, it's gonna taste like some kind of raspberry or blueberry nonsense, or like bubble gum.
Well, I'm from the East Coast, so I'm a Twizzlers guy, and I like
Oh, I'm red
Twizzlers
vines. I like red
far,
vines.
far, far, far more than red vines.
They come in buckets.
But I do love this. I do love this because they're really appreciating it. They like take the vine, they like bite off the end and spit it out like
Right,
they actually smoke a
right.
cigar. But I
Yeah.
love this little line by Topher.
Oh yeah, you can really taste the blue.
Fabulous.
That's one of my favorites of his. But and he's like, Millhouse is like sitting there like the lower tier, and he's waiting on them. He's like, get us some juice boxes. And they're all becoming friends. So it's Nelson, as you said, is there, and Millhouse and Donnie and Bart, the foursome. And Lisa comes out and they squirt her, and she's like, that wasn't fun. And then we have an awkward transition to this B plot, and we move into the house and into the kitchen where Homer comes in. Marge is doing this silly bit. I don't know if you really marked it, where she's
not.
refilling the ketchup thing with ketchup.
Oh, that
packets.
I do remember it though.
Random.
Again, that's another joke that I thought was part of another episode. Like if we're in a trivia contest, they're like, "What episode did Marge?"
I don't know if I would have remembered that joke, but I did it clearly because I didn't even write it down, but I remembered it. But it's just definitely random here. But it's all a transition to get back into the house. So Homer comes in with flowers and says, "Oh, Marge, dear, would you like to take a drive in my new fancy car?" And he clicks the door unlock button, goes bleep, bleep. And Marge is like, "Ooh, did you just unlock the car from here?"
Yeah.
Oh, so
this date that's coming up later down
oh, it's
in
one of
this
my favorites.
Is way more entertaining to me than the actual A plot.
Oh, it's phenomenal. So he's taking her on a date in the car, and he gets in, and they play the great Smokey Robinson song. It was like, "If you want it, you got it." Oh, and he's showing her all the fancy features, like the moon roof opens up, and then lit candles pop up from all over the car.
Yeah, it continues to be equally.
The champagne fountain.
It's like more and more ridiculous as like the day goes on, and they even get busy.
So Homer's like rolls her seat all the way back down, and he puts it on autopilot, and he rolls back down, and they are about to like get it on while the car is just cruising down the highway. But they are interrupted, Josh, for the shop is called to say that the car is ready, and Homer's pissed. Homer's about to get busy with Marge in the loaner car, and they're like, "Oh no, you have to give it up now and come get your old ass car." And he's like, "Nope, I'm not going to do it." He's like, "What do you mean my car's ready?" "Well, you could keep it because I'm never giving this one up. Now, why don't you enjoy the sounds of my wife and me making sweet, sweet love?" And you get to the shop, and the guy's listening on the phone, and you just hear like, "Meow, meow, meow." He goes, "That wasn't us. That was a transmission."
And how did that transmission sound again?
I was like, "No, wait, that wasn't us. That wasn't us making love." I like how you're still listening to it too, Josh.
I mean, hey, what am I gonna do? It's time to close up shop. I can listen to some sweet, sweet love.
It is 5:30. So that certainly is one of my very favorite scenes in this whole thing. And now we transition back to the school, And we have our next big prank coming up that the crew has put together, and it's well planned out. Milhouse and Nelson start hitting each other with the lunch boxes and then everybody goes crazy. There's a box fight. Skinner comes out to see what's going on, so they've got him out of the office. He has the silly thing with the whistle. I don't know if you marked that line at all, Josh.
No, I
it was very silly.
Was, skipping to the part where Bart Xeroxes his butt and is glued to the seat.
Because they Josh, just take it easy here, buddy.
I'm sorry.
Yes. So there is a montage of various things that they're doing. But the whole big point is that they're getting caught at it. So they're doing the initial prank, which is they're going to put crickets in the coffee in the teacher's lounge. And they go into the teacher's lounge and the door locks behind them. It's him and Donnie in there. And Skinner shows up and he turns the thing around and says, "Detention." And
then it's something similar we get with this entire episode where they have a couple montages and Dropkick Murphy is probably playing in the background. And, we just kind of consistently see that like every single prank, like Skinner is on the up and up for each of them.
And so the last of which is fantastic, is Bart runs into the copy room and plops his butt down, which is again a callback to a prank he's done early in.
Oh, he's copied his butt several
times.
Yeah.
And it's the wall spins around and he's in front of the art class. They're painting him, and he's been glued. His ass has been glued down to the glass there.
Yeah, and so everything looks to be kind of going south for our heroes, Nelson, Milhouse, Bart, and the traitor Donnie.
The traitor Donnie says...
Skinner's 5 steps ahead of me. I put a tack in his chair. He's corked his pants. I throw a tomato. He's making salad.
Yeah, corks his pants, as you pointed out in our pre-production talk, was fun. That's a good line.
They can't get anything done, so everything he's doing is being foiled there. So Willie comes out and tells him in secret on he goes, hey, you got a rat in your group, and he's close to you. And Follows and he says he's heading to meet Skinner right now. I don't know who it is. And Follows is that chase scene. Josh, have you seen The Departed, the movie?
Yeah, I have, and that's something that was brought up in the commentary as well, that they basically just copied this chase scene.
Yeah, famous
from the
scene.
Movie. I also like how by the end of it, so basically Bart is trying to catch the rat that Willie tipped him off to, and there's a series of fun animated bits that go with it.
It's well shot.
But it closes on Lunch Lady Doris once again playing the school nurse. And for a true Simpsons fan, we all know that Lunch Lady Doris is also Nurse Lunch Lady Doris, because that way she gets 2 paychecks. And I also like her bit where they had an initial shot of a measles vaccine, but that was just the guiding hole. And then she pulls out a ridiculous bigger syringe and sticks that in, which gives the the rat enough time to escape Bart, who also
foiled again.
Could you imagine how you would feel if you had a vaccine? And I'm pro-vaccine. I don't want to everybody get your vaccines. But if they started with we're going to shoot you with a smaller needle so the bigger needle could fit.
I'd be create a small hole so it's easier going.
What are you doing?
No, I recently had a scenario where they had to use a larger needle for something on me. It was not, it's
not fun.
No. Are you a needles guy, Josh?
No, fucking hate them. I hate them. And as someone who has experimented with as enough drugs as I have, I'm really glad I don't like needles. Seriously.
Josh. We haven't talked about this yet. If we're gonna have a heroin laden episode, then we need to just
Oh, I would much
set
rather
it
do
up.
LSD than heroin.
We'll talk about that. So
maybe for when Homer eats the insanity pepper, we'll both drop a tab.
I love that episode. So Bart is foiled. He does not catch this rat. He's getting mad. So the next scene is the four of them are riding out, and they're like, "Where are we going?" And Bart has this look in his eye, like, he's on one. And they get out there, and he's like, "There's a rat. Somebody I know is a rat. Is it my best friend, or my other best friend, or the guy we just met?"
Okay, so that right there is why I do not like The Departed.
Exactly.
That's exactly what happens in the movie. Who is it? My two best friends or this guy I just met?
This guy I just met.
That's fucking wild to me. Like, if it was you, Brenton, Alex, and me, and then some guy named Bob showed up,
right?
You know
No one
what I
says
mean?
foiling our plans.
Like, I would not be throwing you into the shit locker.
It's a sign of the nature of the relationship in some senses, but I agree. We've talked about this. There is the film that The Departed is based off of, and it is as good an action movie as I've ever seen, and it does these things very well. And I thought that Scorsese's version did them extremely poorly. And while it's somewhat fun to watch, the actual plot, it falls really, really flat.
Well, yeah, and I'm not a fan of his movies in general. Like, I respect him, like, for what he's contributed to the film world and the art. But his movies
we've talked about this before as well.
Run too long, and it's always about mobster shit in one form or another, and it just kind of gets old. So same thing with this, but it is very, very entertaining what happens next.
So they've decided to call out Milhouse as the rat because, of course, it's his best friend,
right?
Instead of the new guy,
right?
And so out on this hill, there's a random locker, and they lock him inside this locker, like, classic school gag. And they're like,
let's be real.
It's very high stakes. Like, this is like they're whacking him.
I have an idea of how that locker came to be in that field.
Huh.
Nelson needed to get out of his house for whatever reason, and he lived in that locker for at least 3 days. Anyway,
are you sure you didn't have LSD?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So,
it's like a sweat box, It's
so exactly, like it's not fun what's in there, but
right.
it is again random. Is they leave him, and Bart they actually let us off the hook, and they're like, we'll let him out later, which I thought detracted a little bit. Somebody made them, like Fox made them put it in there, but randomly now Cletus walks up. We get another Cletus. And he's like,
it's fucking ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, actually, we had this. So you start.
Yeah. All right. So Cletus comes up, and he's walking up on this hill for no reason. He goes, "Oh my gosh, it's an outhouse from the future.
Hey, I'm in here.
Be quiet, Robo Potty."
Okay.
So
basically,
so here's the question:
Cletus is going to go to the bathroom in a small locker.
In front or on top of Milhouse?
There's not room for in front, Josh.
Yeah.
It is a locker.
Yeah.
It's very small in there.
Oh, and it's gonna not smell good. I could tell you that.
Old Milhouse is getting his first lesson in either scat or water sports. So he's heading there, and eventually. All right. So now we cut back to the treehouse, and the remaining three are there. And Bart's like, all right, we're going to do the biggest prank we've ever done. We're going to egg Skinner's house. And they're like, we've egged his car. We've egged, I can't remember what else, the school. Like, how's that? And Bart's like, pulls out this huge egg. He's like, we're going to do it with ostrich eggs this time. And this scene, well, again, is just kind of a throwaway. There's a couple of funny lines where he goes, normally you can't even buy these. You have to buy the ostrich and wait. Which I thought, and then Nelson goes, whoa, to think this came out of some animal's butt. Beautiful in a way.
Yeah.
Nelson's a poet, as you and I know very well.
Nuke the whales.
So this is the big prank they're setting up, but now we're cutting back to the B plot, and Lisa's now in the car with Homer saying, I'm never taking the loaner back. And Lisa's like, this is really fancy. you can even donate to NPR directly from the radio.
And that's my
Which you said you enjoyed that.
favorite line of this entire episode.
And then we get a Terry Gross,
Hey, good old
line
Terry
where
Gross.
she's like, we want to thank you for donating, after she just, does it right there on the thing. Very fancy. And Homer's talking about his old piece of and they go by the auto shop, and somebody's trying to buy his old car, and they look like ne'er-do-wells, for lack of a better phrase. So he gets out, and they're talking to the guys like, do you think you'd make it out to the desert? And they're like, what are you going to do with it? They're like, we're going to shoot it up full of holes, and then the boys are going to have their way with it. It's like...
Yeah, it's a little creepy.
It's a little creepy out there. Yeah. And Homer's like, no, you won't. I love this car as if it were my own kid. And he's like he steals it and runs off. And Lisa's sitting in the other car like, Dad. And he drives back and gets her. He's like, sorry, Maggie.
Yeah, in addition to the name of the child being wrong, it is kind of funny that Homer has this whole adventure without any repercussions from this mechanic. This is like the chillest mechanic I've ever seen. He just sell it
for $99.
Yeah, but he's not charging Homer for the maintenance, not charging Homer for the loaner that's been used for way too long.
Just was going to let him have it.
Right? So like he's just probably happy to get the loaner back. It's very strange.
And this is the end of our loaner plot, by the way.
Yeah, basically it was going to get
unceremonious a bit.
The car was going to get gangbanged by a bunch of yokels, and then Homer decided to take it back, which is the ultimate reset to the existing, the old rubber band reality thing. We got to reset back to where we started.
All right, so now we're heading back to school, and Skinner's making fun of Bart at this point. And he's like, I need you to help me put up this banner. And Bart's like, okay. It says this, no pranks for 14 days. And Skinner's just like laughing at him. And Bart goes, one of the silliest lines here, he goes, yeah, we'll see who's laughing when your house is smeared with ostrich albumin, which is the viscous fluid of birth. Anybody doesn't know. I thought that was funny. His use of a big word. But the main thing, Josh, is here, if you recall, that Skinner's tongue has turned blue.
Jinkies,
exactly. And Bart thinks back to when he gave him a couple of blue vines. He's the only one else in town got the blue vines.
Right.
And so he knows now it is Donnie is the rat. And Donnie's in trouble. So... under the auspices of going through with their egg prank, the kids, Nelson and Bart, are riding with Donnie, and instead they take him to a warehouse. In a movie like The Departed, that's very ominous, of course. And Bart turns to him and says, I know you're the rat. And he kind of fesses up and does it. And then we have the scene with the orphanage, Josh.
Yes, the orphanage is great.
Skinner and Chalmers went to the orphanage to find somebody to raise into their stooge here. Well, which is very much the plot.
They're being so discriminatory too. They're like too small, too Siamese, too like
the Siamese twins, and he does it twice. Where he's like two Siamese.
Yeah, no, that was cute. I also love how Donnie is like a boxer, right, with the speed bag. He's speed bagging a hornet's nest, basically.
He's speed bagging a hornet's nest. Like they're like, we want that kid.
Yeah.
So they've got Donnie, and they're gonna take care of him. And they're like, how could you do it? And he's like, well, we're gonna fizz this guy. So he's like, what is fizzing? And he goes, you ever seen what Mentos and Diet Coke can do? And he puts Mentos in it, and it explodes everywhere. He's like, imagine that times 1,000,000. And they have all this Diet Coke and fizz they're gonna set off in there. And
have you ever tried
the
that?
End of Donnie. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I've been sticky twice in my life.
Right.
Like I've only been sticky that twice. One involved Mentos and Diet Cola, and the other I can't talk about on the air.
This is Josh. The Simpsons writers, as we're going to see in the next episode as well, have a similar mind. That's why we like them so much.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool that they have like pallets full of this stuff. Like it's a
and
lot.
They're gonna set it off in like Skinner's office. It would have been a great joke.
Yeah,
pallets like dozens and dozens of boxes of each. That would have been hilarious.
Right.
I'd pay for that. So Bart's like, we're going to set it off in the office, and Skinner and Chalmers step out of the light, and they've caught them on videotape, I'll say. And so Bart is busted. He's like, how did you get me? And it was Willie the whole time. It's a rat inside of a rat. Did you mark the line, Josh, where he goes, I was a rat inside of a rat, which is exactly what I had for dinner last night. It's a terrible Willie, but...
Yeah. It's someone who has mostly Scottish genes. I wish I could do a better Scottish accent.
Right. So Bart is talking to to Donnie again. He's like, how could you betray me? You were like a brother to me. We were going to take wood shop together and make nunchucks, and then take people to our lockers and show them our nunchucks. And Topher's acting there I like a lot, where he goes, I know, that would have been really cool.
Because nunchucks are always cool.
And
I don't care how impractical they are. They're super cool.
My last clip I have is this great when he gets caught by Skinner.
Sorry to plop on your fizz.
Yeah, that's a good Skinner line.
So they've been caught. Nelson runs away. Running away rules.
So that was the last thing I had mentioned for this scene.
I knew you would.
That's the only thing I had written down was, ha ha ha, Nelson, running away rules. And I kind of want to use that in real life. I want to get like over my skis in a bar fight and be like, running away rules. And hopefully they're so dumbfounded that they don't chase me.
I'm in. And we could try that when I'm out there, depending on my joints at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we stretch first.
Skinner goes, great job. You betrayed the one boy who really cared about you.
Yeah, Skinner goes biting.
And so Donnie then feels bad. They're going to throw the book at Bart. They got him dead to rights. They're going to put him away for a long time. And Donnie has a change of heart. And before they can grab Bart, he pushes the Mentos into the Diet Coke and grabs Bart, and they escape through the hatch, and the whole place goes up in sugar water.
Yeah.
And there's a lovely scene I think we both really liked there at the end, because it's another Chalmers and Skinner where he goes, Skinner! And he goes, Skinner? And like he doesn't hear him. He thinks he might be dead. And then Skinner goes, I'm okay. And he goes, don't you ever do that to me again.
Yeah, and my comment for that was just like, Chalmers cares.
Oh. So,
and then we get the very end.
But so they call it even. They shake hands. They go their separate ways, but they're even now, and they make peace. And
Donnie and Bart
the last scene of the movie, which is of the show, which is Ralph in an alleyway, and there's a giant rat crawling across the brick wall, and he says,
"The rat symbolizes obviousness."
And that is a biting indictment of Martin Scorsese's version of that story.
Yeah.
The whole thing for me with Departed was that where there was this really tight plot line in the original Korean film, where when something happened, it was like amazing, where they spell everything out in The Departed. And it's just extremely poorly done and just not very interesting, frankly. And I wondered if they had talked about that in the commentary at all.
I mean, they talked about how it was pretty obvious what was going on with The Departed. But, they're Scorsese fans. They like the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I find it entertaining, but compared to the original, which I just highly recommend, Infernal Affairs. And And so that's it. And we wrap it up with our Ralph line. The rat symbolizes obviousness.
So I got some final thoughts on the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, the jokes didn't really land to me as often as some of the classic or golden era episodes, but the plot is fine. I'm more of a fan of the B plot than the A plot, and I think part of that is because I'm not a Scorsese fan in general. And I have to say, like the Cletus outhouse joke and the best line with Ralph at the end is something I could probably find on YouTube. So I don't really think this will be one of those episodes in my regular rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. It is definitely not the well-written episode that we have come to really understand. The more that we
written
do this
well
work.
enough. The source
it's
material
enjoyable.
Is just kind of
worth a watch.
Right.
Especially if you do love that movie.
That's my point. Is I think people who are more into these kind of films will enjoy the parody of it. And I'm also heard Dropkick Murphy in so many films with montages by now that it's kind of old.
Well, it was from the movies, from the
I understand. I know.
But I agree. So it's another one again. That's an episode is around a movie plot. Yep. And they bring in a star, and it's kind of around the star, Topher Grace, with a side gag of the loaner car.
And no shade to Topher, but he's no Kelsey Grammer.
No.
And I think he'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean it's a little underwhelming, but it's fun. It's definitely.
But also, he played the role that he played the role that he was given. Like, I'm not trying to throw shade on his performance.
100%.
It's more of just
but
like
it was
the
a
character.
Yeah, I mean, it was not as fleshed out, and it's just not as well written.
That's
and
what
not
I was
as well
getting
constructed.
Right.
But it's a very fun episode.
I guess my
would
point
love
being is
to
that,
hear what others think. If anybody particularly loves this episode, I think somebody who really enjoys The Departed might love this episode.
Yes. And I will admit, just to be fair, like it's not a comparison for Sideshow Bob, who's like an established character of the show, for a one-time guest star slot in the 19th season. Like that's totally not fair. So like I felt a little ashamed of throwing shade to Topher because he did a great job. But and even with the Simpsons writers, like even though this isn't one of my favorite episodes, I'm like, I think they did great, like with the source material that they had.
I think that we agree on this, is that we're talking about shades of greatness and in this show. I mean, it's 35 seasons. There's shows that didn't get 2.
Right. And the worst Simpsons episode is better than the best 70s show episode anyway.
No, that's shade, Josh. I wonder, is this the first star episode that we've got? Just some rando star coming in? I think so. I mean, aside from Kelsey Grammer, but we talked about
Albert Brooks.
Yeah, I guess that is true. Yeah. He doesn't do a lot. Yeah.
All right, man. That
one was better.
Anything else we want to discuss about this episode?
No. Great job, me.
Great job, you. And before we dive into our next episode, let's take a brief commercial break. Sacrilicious has received an apology statement from the 2 new CEOs of Globex Corp.
We at Globex Corporation would like to apologize for the recent actions by Hank Scorpio. There is no excuse for his attempt to seize the east coast of the United States.
When Hank first joined Globex, we were excited, a positive force who cared about the work, but more importantly, the people. Morale was up, deadlines were met, quarterly earnings were above expectations. Everything was coming up Globex.
In hindsight, we missed a few concerning things. The increased costs for Globex security, expenses for a flamethrower and a laser death trap, a femme fatale hire whose only qualification was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. To quote BoJack Horseman, when you wear rose-tinted glasses, all red flags look like normal flags.
To address these past sins, Globex has improved the vetting process. The company will also provide payments to all victims affected by the Doomsday device. as long as those claims are filed at the downtown office on Wednesday between 3:45 and 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Although we can never undo the damage Hank caused, Globex hopes to build a brighter future through our germ warfare and weather control divisions.
From the bottom of our hearts, we're sorry.
And now back to our show. All right, so can you believe that we got an apology letter from the Globex Corporation?
Well, it was due after what they'd done.
So do you think
successfully?
Can you think two unnamed CEOs can replace the great Hank Scorpio?
They sounded like they knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Anyway, too bad we couldn't get an apology for Hank trying to sell us the Denver Broncos.
I know. I mean, that's an apology in and of itself. Come on.
Yeah.
The late 90s Denver Broncos, come on.
Well, anyway, we got another episode of The Simpsons. And it's season 13, episode 9, Jaws Wired Shut, with an original air date of January 27, 2002. We have a directed by Nancy Cruz and written by our good old buddy Matt Selman, making another return to the writer's seat. So 2002. That's 6 years prior. 6 years prior to 2008.
Yep.
As I would have been at Pierce College trying to survive and figure out how I'm going to take all these classes and work and pay for them. And I was probably stressed the fuck out and losing weight uncontrollably. How are you in 2002?
I was doing great. I just moved out to Los Angeles and was having an absolute ball.
Awesome.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Cool. Well, this is an episode that I particularly like for the ending most of all, which we will definitely get into, but it did homages to a classic cartoon involving a sailor, a woman, a bully, and sometimes a baby. And we open up with Homer relaxing in a hammock and reading Pie Times, which I'm assuming is a spoof of High Times. Don't you think?
It's meant to be.
Right?
Certainly.
But then he goes into the joke about, they show the filling now.
Like it's
Are they even allowed to do that?
Showing a naked woman, bare skin in a skin
and
bag.
Homer is getting
He's
horny.
Like,
right?
This episode is dirty. I'm gonna call it out a couple times. But it's definitely Homer looking at this, getting turned on by the filling of the pie. Like, can they show that?
And also, it also tracks too with some of the things that you think are happening, but they can't show. Homer masturbating in that hammock in the backyard is probably happening on the regular.
Oh, certainly. He's not shy.
Right. But he's interrupted because we hear some amazing music. And Springfield Gay Pride Parade time. Woohoo! Yeah!
It's like, it sounds like Pride. Woohoo!
I find it interesting that we're recording the last day of Pride Month, so I hope everybody enjoyed themselves in whatever fashion they deem worthy of the occasion.
I hope everybody had a wonderful Pride Month. It's a fun month.
I think in the year that we're at with 2002, that The Simpsons are a little bit ahead of the curve here, because they have an awesome joke where there's a couple guys holding their hands and they do the standard chant of like, "We're here, we're queer, get used to it." And Lisa retorts, "We are used to it," which I love. I think that is the most awesome segment possible as someone who's always been a supporter of the community, to just kind of like, yeah, we're used to you.
Normalize
we're here. Everything's cool.
Yeah, but it's funny because it's indicative of the gay community, which I am in. Is the guy goes, "Oh, don't be a spoil sport,"
Yeah.
We gays love us a dramatic party, so don't take this away from us.
Right, and the fight isn't over, obviously. Like, there's still
not.
we got to continue to be vigilant and
we're creating new fights every day.
There you go. And so, but it is a nice level of acceptance, and it's cool that a very popular show like The Simpsons is parroting that
Kind of
message, because sometimes when
saying
you
that,
watch some
yeah.
of the older episodes, you look at things and you're kind of like, that did not age as you would expect.
well, some of they do the parade with a lot of
Correct.
montages of floats and things, and some of them are maybe a little bit.
I personally like the
questionable.
safe sex one where there are two hazmat suits and they end up just shaking hands. It's very like asexual in a way, I believe. I don't know, like maybe I'm getting that term wrong. And then I also love how we clearly have Smithers and Patty in the closet, and they're
You
we're
can't see them; they're just waving their hands
yeah,
out the
they're just like
closet.
we're cool, but we don't want to be shown. Uh,
I liked
which,
the lesbians of the Caribbean, and it's
yeah,
like
that
the
was cute.
ride where it's just they're
Right.
running in circles.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a butch lesbian chasing a effeminate lesbian.
Yeah. It was very well done. And then they kind of end the parade with the group of gay dogs.
Gay pets.
Yeah, or pets, sorry. And then Maggie is kind of dumbfounded. She does one of those like classic, like I've been hitting the sauce too hard, and she kind of like rubs her eyes and throws the bottle behind her.
Exactly.
Which I thought was very cute. And Homer, who's like his tolerance of the gay community kind of ebbs and flows, and depending on what's funny. But even he was like with the gay dogs, he's like, all right, let's get out of here. And
Well,
he's like,
Santos El Halper starts to get a little frisky.
I mean,
he yanks his collar and he's like, "We're out of here."
Look, I'm just gonna say it out here right now. Pretty sure that dog is bi, and I'm pretty sure most dogs.
Is it referenced elsewhere?
I have no idea, but like dogs hump what they're gonna hump.
Oh yeah, it's the animal world.
And we're back to the Googleplex theaters. And
we have another theater, Josh.
Right.
With a movie theater scene with a bunch of movie titles.
Yeah, so the family decides to go see Shenanigans, which is fun. And then I personally wanted to see Editor and Chimp. What film struck your interest, Robin?
I particularly liked one. They did a call out to themselves where it actually changed the screen to where Homer's buying, and there's another movie that pops up and it says too many premises, because I'm convinced, and we've talked about it before, that all of these titles, Wedgie the movie, Chocolate 2 the Vanilling, Final Chapter, A New Beginning, but like Editor and Chimp and Wedgie the movie are Shenanigans, are like discarded side plot ideas by the writers that they just run out for these, which is amazing.
And they consistently mention, and they did so in this commentary as well, that those jokes take the longest to write, and sometimes they'll just have to devote an afternoon of like 3 or 4 people sitting in a room trying to knock stuff out until they finally find something they can land on.
We love it.
I mean, I can kind of understand that when I'm creating the episode names where I'm trying to smash 2 of the episode names together. I could spend at least 5 minutes on that, so I understand that I'm spending too much time.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you, Josh. Maybe spend a little extra. Spend an hour a day, afternoon at least.
Yeah, right. So they open up with the movie Itchy and Scratchy Cartoon.
Real quick, there's a joke that I loved, Josh, where they're like, "Why is this movie PG-13?" And Marsh says, "It may contain brief rudeness, adult explosions, and scenes with Gary Shandling." And the kids are like, "Gary Shandling." Who is
that joke
random actor from the 80s that you either know
way over
or
my
you
head.
don't.
Way over my head.
The Gary Shandling show
I know of him.
Was lovely back in the day. But
All
it was
right.
a nice knock.
So we have Itchy and Scratchy who are heading up basically a call to no talking please in a very standard movie fashion. And they do this with a bunch of animated characters. And there's a duck who answers a cell phone and starts quacking and being annoying. And they violently kill the duck and use its intestines to write out, please, no talking.
It's not as Itchy and Scratchy without some intestines popping out.
Yeah, but like everybody else in the theater was like cheering them on. It was great. And I'm talking about the theater of the cartoon, not the theater the Simpsons are listening to. And, we get a DVD commentary where someone was like kind of hoping that they would start using that in actual movie theaters so people would shut the fuck up. Yeah, they didn't say fuck, but like it was pretty hilarious.
Mm-hmm. I'm with
So
it.
I have something that I can relate to Homer with now, which is going to a movie and it says it starts at, let's say, 2:00.
Uh-huh.
And I've been sitting there and the weed has worn off, the popcorn bucket is halfway gone, and the water or beer that I have is at least 2/3 consumed.
Right.
And we
Already.
don't even have the start of the movie yet.
Yeah.
We
They showed
have
30
ads and
trailers.
commercials and everything else. That's very annoying. So basically, that is the premise of Homer, who's about to go into a rage mode. And we have a clip right now of him being impatient with the movie starting.
Because they've already played the trailers. We got to talk about some of these trailers too. Here is the clip.
I'm laughing, but it's a laugh of impatience. Show the movie.
A laugh of impatience.
That
right
I'm
there.
laughing, but it's a laugh of impatience.
That is amazing.
I cannot relate to any
And
phrase
so
more.
they show one of the previews that I liked was Soccer Mummy. And
Soccer Mummy.
One of the punchlines is they see a
They
well-endowed...
dug up a new player.
There you go. And we see
Ed O'Neill is Soccer Mummy.
And we see a well-endowed fan kind of shaking her jugs, and the Soccer Mummy gets a boner, and they're like, one of the kids are like, the professor said,
"Oh no!"
Go ahead.
Sorry, you had it.
Okay, the professor told us he can't get a boner, which I don't understand.
And then you hear the bandages ripping as he gets a giant boner.
Yeah, that was a little cherry on
The
top.
sound effect is excellent there.
Yeah,
it's dirty, Josh. Like, where is this random like 12-year-old humor coming from?
I mean, when you're in season 13, what else do you have to lose? You're
Exactly.
going to be canceled any day now.
Exactly.
Do you have any?
We also did say, Josh, real quick, that we wanted to make this clip like ongoing when one of us is running long.
I'm laughing, but it's a laugh of impatience.
It's pretty good.
It's good.
It kind of reminds me of when I'm at work or with family or something like that. I'm just kind of like trying to laugh it off.
I liked the next commercial instead of what you think it goes, and now the future presentation is a phrase that you might hear, then you call movie call. And he's like, sends him over the edge.
So Homer goes over the edge, as you say, and he's just doing classic Homer. I'm not going to get into too many specifics here, but he has his shirt off and he's yelling and trying to get people to start the movie, and then the ushers have to unlock with their special keys, Kit Kat bars.
He's riled them up into a froth.
Yeah, and he's just basically like, what are they going to do? Advance on me? And they do. And so Homer runs out of the theater, and at a nearby park, we see Mayor Quimby. So we get more Quimby, but not Star Quimby. He's just kind of like filling in her position. And he's dedicating a statue to the boxer Dredrick Tatum, which is the Mike Tyson of the Simpsons world.
And he's because he's a champion of litter. He says, "Litter's my most treacherous foe. I would like to eat its children."
Yeah, he is consistently talking about children. There's another episode that I won't bring up.
It's a line from it's Mike Tyson's actual line.
Yeah, but it's also a joke that is in another episode that we will do eventually. So we get the whole like crux of the episode occurring right now, where Homer is a fucking idiot and he runs into a statue that has its hand extended for a punch, and he basically breaks his jaw. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Comedy Central roast, where there's Steve-O and Mike Tyson, and Steve-O decides to run into Mike Tyson's fist, and he actually gets a tooth knocked out, and it wasn't planned. So I don't know what the timing is like, because I didn't do that kind of homework. If somebody wants to give me a shit ton of money to research these things better, I will. But I wonder if that was just kind of like in the general zeitgeist of comedic writers and people watching these things, and they're like, yeah, you know what would be kind of funny if Homer breaks his jaw if he runs into a statue of like the Mike Tyson character, right?
The image is brutal, by the way.
It's pretty brutal. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go through that. I don't think that's nice.
Drake Tatum goes, "Excellent bout. Now we go potty."
Yeah, and he like pats the statue on the shoulder, like, he was doing ringside assistance, It's pretty fun. So we go to Dr. Hooper's office now because obviously that's the right doctor to go to. Robin, would you ever go to Dr. Nick?
No, I'm very picky about good doctors.
Yeah.
Bad doctors
Would you go
are
to Dr.
not
Nick for
fun.
illicit
Oh yeah.
prescriptions?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He would have been my license in California. My medicinal,
Right.
which I had found the other day, by the way. My California.
He seems more like black market
license.
than HMO.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so we find out that Homer's going to have his jaw wired shut, which means he can't talk. And in the commentary, they mentioned, we totally know you can talk, but it didn't work for this episode. If you could, it's much funnier. So, everybody, we know if you break
this whole episode is a lie. Is that what you're telling me, John?
It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie for humor.
It's called He Can't Talk.
Right.
That's not really true. It's called.
I also love how he mentions that he can't eat solid foods, and Marge is like, those are his favorites.
I liked how he goes then. He's like, I can't eat solid foods. He hooks himself up to the suicide machine.
Right, and the suicide machine for a man of his size only provides sexual relief. So once again, you're right, Robin. I'm going to pick up on your theme that you've been laying down. This is a very horny episode.
It's a horny episode because
there's a lot of...
he shoots himself with the suicide drugs and has a sexual release in the scene.
There's a lot of...
I don't know what they were getting into, but I like it.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just going to let that pause sit there for a minute as everybody soaks in how horny this episode is. So we are back at the Simpsons house, and Homer is definitely a foodie, and when you say you can't swallow does not mean you can't snort. And this idiot has a beautiful steak, and he decides to cut up a cube and snort it up his nose. Robin, what did you think of this bit?
Oh, it's horrible looking. He's trying to get it in his beyond. He's like, he can't eat the thing, and so he just snorts over nose, and then he goes, ooh, and almost passes out.
I love how on the commentary too, multiple people are like, that would just kill you.
Yes.
Yeah, it would just if you find the steak would get lodged somewhere. Yeah. Somewhere.
Well, if it makes it through your sinus, it's going directly into your esophagus.
Lungs, potentially too. Yeah.
And you choke to death.
Oh my God. So gross. But the animation was very funny because
very well done.
It also was reminiscent
of
the
feel for him because he's struggling.
Right.
He's struggling, clearly.
It's also reminiscent of the movie Total Recall when they Arnold is pulling out the snot nose tracker thing. It was just
Oh,
I also love how Bart is immediately on top of Homer. He's like, I'm going to take advantage of it.
He's taking full advantage of it. He
exactly.
is, as I say.
Hey, Dad, if you object to me making a human yo-yo, say something.
No, Clee says clearly say no.
Clearly say no, right? And then I love how Milhouse is already ready to go.
He's a lawyer,
outfit, right?
Yeah,
he's already, and they mentioned the Jackass show, and they say something along the lines of
exactly it.
All those disclaimers make me want to do it more.
He's wrapped up in padding.
Oh, he's so ready to go.
This is gonna hurt Milhouse, and he's all into it.
It's not really padding. It just looks like a puffy jacket. It looks like the jacket that he we're gonna go to the snowmill house. Put on your puffy jacket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we're at Moe's, and Homer is drinking a glass bottle of Duff, which we rarely see. We rarely see Duff out of a can, and we also get one of my favorite side characters ever. We get Duffman.
The Duffman.
What is your opinion of Duffman?
Oh, he's a hilarious character. He is just such a send-up of, these bro-y, machismo brand people that come to sporting events like, do you love Coca-Cola? Well, we're going to give you t-shirts. All you have to do is kill each other. And everybody does.
To me, it's the Miller Girls. So when I was going to Hermosa Beach in my days, I would always run into the Miller Girls.
Random bars. People walk in in bikinis.
Yeah, you could get a new jizz towel and they would sign it for you. It was great. I mean, bar towel. Jeez.
Listen, I'm gay and I drank everything they ever handed me.
Right. So it's very fun. I also love just the voice. It's just Oh yeah, Duffman is here to party. Hello, local
Duffman
distributor.
has feelings and deeper emotions.
I also love how somebody mentions that they thought Duffman had died. And so his retort is, Duffman can never die. Only the actors who play him. Oh, yeah.
It's definitely a send-up, as you were saying earlier, about the Marlboro Man.
Yes. Right.
That was literally the case.
And Duffman comes and goes throughout these episodes. I think the first episode, if my memory serves correctly, is like Homer versus New York. But it is one of my favorite characters. And it's one of those ones where even if it wasn't so hot in the LA area still in October for Halloween, I thought of like going as Duffman for Halloween, getting like the foam muscle suit, just being like, oh yeah, hey, you going? You
definitely have to do this now, Josh. I'd have to shave my beard.
Yeah, I mean, I shave the beard from time to time. For me, it's fine.
Not me.
So it's trivia time. And Duffman has one question.
Because he's going to give away, importantly, a lifetime supply of Duff beer.
Right, which is weird because by this time, Barney, who is actually sober in this episode, would have already had a lifetime supply of beer because of A Star Is Burns. But that's a whole other thing. So what's
that's a big prize.
It is a big prize. And if you could just roll clip number 2.
Okay, chug monkeys. What beverage, brewed since ancient times, is made from hops and grains?
So
phenomenal.
Obviously,
I love the okay chug monkeys.
That's a fantastic line. And obviously, these idiots are going to play stupid and not have the question. Homer, because he can't speak, is like,
Linear Carl goes, ancient hop grain juice.
Yeah. And they actually focus in on the bottle and it says made with hops and grains, which is a fun bit. So it basically unceremoniously Duffman pieces out because no one could get the answer right. And
Homer's distraught.
Homer's
distraught because he had the answer. He's going to win this great prize.
But, we're back at home and now he has a tiny little chalkboard for some reason. Maybe that was Marge being a sweetheart. And he ends up striking conversation with his wife in bed. And because he's not a fucking blabbermouth idiot anymore and he's forced to actually listen, he finds out that they bond over an annoyance of Ned Flanders.
Exactly.
And it's a very cute scene. I love the Homer and Marge marriage dynamic. I think that, Marge puts up with a lot. And it's very nice when Homer is not being a fucking complete idiot and is actually a supportive husband.
I love what Homer says in his mind. He goes, this marriage just got interesting.
Yeah. Like after 13 seasons, you didn't figure out that your neighbor is annoying and your wife may think so too. Because you're Homer, And so this continues a trend and we basically go through the family. So we get Maggie, we get Lisa, we get Bart, we get Grandpa.
I do like the Maggie scene where...
Correct. That's what we're going to start with. And, okay. What do you think of the binky toss? Between the
it was great because she's dangling from her pacifier that's gotten caught in his jaws and he's trying to get it out but he can't with her on it, so he grabs another pacifier and he dangles it, and like an animal she like leaps over just using her jaw muscles to
it almost reminds me of like
the other one.
A platformer video game where you're like trying to like jump from ledge to ledge, right? Maggie's trying to jump from pacifier to pacifier. And also there's a very cute, like, Maggie is really appreciating the attention, and so does Lisa, and so does Bart.
And so does Homer too. He's enjoying.
No, he's having fun as well. He's learning.
Yeah.
He's actually learning and growing as a person, which is rare for this character. And some of the lines that I like is like when Lisa is kvetching, he goes, maybe a hug will cork her cry hole. And I might write that down on a little piece of paper every once in a while, because like when someone is like kvetching or like being, like just kind of unloading on you and you're in person, and you're like, maybe we'll just hug it out.
It's a tattoo, Josh. It's pretty good. Maybe a hug will cork her.
I also love the realization that like, Bart has feelings.
I love it because he's sitting there and he's like, the substitute teacher comes in, his name is Duty, and then it hits me. I've become a clown.
which is a
clown.
great
and it
insight.
sickens me.
It's a great insight. And, you know, Lisa's complaining
yeah.
about Ralph, which I totally get. Again, if you and I worked with anybody from Springfield, we'd probably like leave that town. You know what I mean? Like,
Lisa's what is the actress's name? Remind me, Josh. That does Lisa. Nancy Cartwright.
Nancy. No. Yardley Smith.
Yardley Smith. It's her acting in that is good.
Oh yeah,
she's funny.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. But
Yardley,
yes, Bart
fantastic.
coming clean like that when like really sharing a deeper introspective side of himself.
Right.
There's the one line that is one of my favorite lines in all of.
It's also a
he's
fun.
Trying to talk to his dad. And he's
it's a fun juxtaposition between your episode and my episode as well, where like he's king of the class clown, right? He's Don, Crustus of the elementary school, and this episode he's kind of like, oh.
And he has that relationship with his dad though most of the time that they're like fooling around.
Yeah.
Like every once in a while, like Bart feels comfortable sharing his, thoughts. We love them.
It's also amazing because I don't think Homer was ever that popular in grade school.
No, he was a bit of a doof.
Yeah, no, he was.
We do get it.
He was probably the Ralph. He was probably the Ralph Wiggum of his era. So anyway, we get Grandpa, who's also getting some treatment, but it's just some non sequitur. Grandpa, blah 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 blah.
Nonsense. I love it. You call it sauerkraut, Liberty cabbage. We call it Liberty cabbage, super slaw. Yep. Sorry, it was not funny.
Also, it is kind of funny because I told you it wasn't Liberty cabbage; it was Liberty lettuce, right? Because so he can't even get the World War I reference right.
It's just a funny little grandpaism.
Yep. And so because he's becoming such a good listener, Marge suggests that they go to the annual Springfield formal event.
A big deal.
Which pivots to one of my favorite, like, why is there a donkey? But I'm so happy there's a donkey moments. So Marge shows a photo of last year that says "Local man ruins everything," which
she says we weren't going to go.
That headline.
Because she said we weren't going to go because of last year's unpleasantness.
I listened to a podcast called Dumb People Town, and the line "Local man ruins everything" is probably 84% of their stories.
This is like Florida Man back in the day,
Yeah, well, no, Florida Man still exists. It's not gone away. It's not like it's back. But Florida Man is alive and strong. I can tell you that.
Florida Man is strong. Homer on the back of this donkey, and they're like
backwards with an American flag. With an American flag.
But I love how she says that donkey is such a bad influence on you.
Yes, 100%.
Blaming the donkey.
Oh man, perfect. I had that line written down as well. That's a great line from Marge. Also, I love how this is one of our first episodes where Marge is actually being more of a presence in the story and the beats. She's kind of been in the background doing the mom thing, doing the wife thing, and I kind of like how in this one, she's not front and center per se, but she has more of an active role because Marge has some fantastic moments in this series, but they're kind of few and far between compared to like Homer or Bart.
It's very much about their relationship, certainly. Yeah. And even though there is the other relationships in his life that have an effect on this, this really centers around Marge and Homer.
So Homer and Marge arrive in the formal dress for this annual ball, and
they look great.
They look fantastic. And I love how Homer, it's a classic, misdirect where Homer is just being Homer, but all these hoity-toity rich motherfuckers fall for it. So
since he can't talk.
Right. So Mr. Burns comes up to him and he's like, "I'm so hungry." And so he writes in all caps, "S.O. hungry." And then Burns is like, "Oh yeah, this music is totally from Southern Hungary." And even in the DVD commentary, they're like, "We've definitely picked a Hungarian composer from this era." And so like it actually is like an intelligent joke on multiple levels. They just didn't go with whatever public domain was available at the time.
That's quite an ear, and he gives him just money randomly.
That is hilarious.
Homer
too.
is killing it.
He just gets a pile of money, which is
Some
Robin,
rich people do, right?
Have you ever
Josh?
gone to a rich person's party and they just gave you money?
Yes. No.
Oh,
I lied.
fuck.
I wish.
I wish you just stuck with the lie. Anywho,
My life is a lie.
Matt Groening also says he's left-handed, famously, right? So Al Jean mentions that Bart is left-handed and asks if Matt Groening had Bart be left-handed because he is. And Matt had such a just defeated line. I don't remember.
Exactly. This is like
and he said
25 years after he started developing this thing. You know?
He's still active in the production process, but also think about at this time, he's doing each and every one of these DVD commentaries with, well, I shouldn't say that. There's probably a few exceptions. But he's doing like the vast, I'm like, it's in the 90 percentile of how many is Matt Groening is involved with.
At some point, he got a little over
it. Well, no, just like how many things am I going to have to say about a show? You know, like I'm running out of things
I understand.
to say.
Now, I do know what his net worth is. You know, it's like, you know what, suck it up, Buttercup.
But also, like, what do you remember from your job?
Yeah, exactly.
Like 12 years ago.
Hey, we could talk about our job we did together, and it would be so interesting.
No, it would not.
There's so many anecdotal things from work that we could chat about.
No, we're not going to do that. So, okay.
So he's doing great with all the hoity-toity. Everybody loves him.
He's dancing with Marge.
Marge is the hit of the ball.
They're getting intimate, right? Everything's great. And Homer goes, I'm horny.
So Marge goes, this has been one of the most magical evenings of my life. And then Homer goes,
horny.
And she goes, I don't know what you said, but I'm sure it was beautiful.
This is kind of night I've dreamed about.
It would be lovely to have that. But like it's hilarious.
But think about his like Marge, incident free. That's what's beautiful about this night. It's not the romance. It's not the the dress. It's not the ball and everything else. It's the fact that it's been incident free. That poor woman.
Hey, the donkey even shows up and beckons him to cause a ruckus, Josh.
Speaking of that beckoning, the DVD commentary said we made that donkey way too suggestive. They do not think that donkey was looking for a ride. It was looking for a ride.
I don't know if they've been away from their wives, what was going on, but they were having a good old time right in this episode.
That donkey.
Subconscious stuff coming up.
Anywho, the next, also I love during this bit, Homer and Reverend Lovejoy are both getting updates from Dr. Hibbert. They're all on the dance floor and he's like, Homer, come in tomorrow, and you too, Lovejoy. Like, so I love the live medical attention on demand that Hibbert provides when he's at the formal.
Yeah.
And then we go to the office the next day. I'm going to let this clip do the whole talking for me.
Homer, your breath smells terrible. I have to take off my shoes to cover the odor.
Nicely done.
So, in addition to that well-executed odor affair, we find out that Homer is going to be able to talk and eat solid foods again.
He's lost the wires.
And of course, he doesn't go home right away. He has to hit up Moe's. And he's talking about the benefits of listening. And he convinces everybody at the bar, Lenny, Carl, and himself, that they should just be quiet for a moment. And then what do they hear, Robin?
It's Moe in the background. He goes, hello? Yeah, I'd like to arrange for an escort, please. To where? How about Orgasmville, you? Hello?
And he's
are back. An escort to Orgasmville, Josh.
Again, a very dirty episode.
It's very dirty. They keep piling it on, too.
This episode is sponsored by KY. So we
that is a
have
particularly funny line in this episode.
We have Lindsay Nagel show up, who is the female power lawyer. An early concept we saw was actually in the DeMaco episode, but it's not quite the same character, I believe. I think it's the same voice.
Voiced by Marsha Wallace.
Correct, but with a different animation style. This is a classic
Yes.
blonde business lady that we've seen before. And I believe we have clip number 4 for this one.
He a better man.
I couldn't agree more. You're today's modern, enlightened man. The kind we television producers have been booking since the mid-'70s.
Hey, what are you doing in here?
I'm an alcoholic. Homer, will you appear on my show?
Sure thing, Alky.
Oh, I love that closer.
Oh, I did a bang again, but that was brilliant.
Why are you here? I'm an alcoholic.
I'm an
honest.
alcoholic.
Just fucking honest.
But her, go get 'em demeanor of I'm in charge here. Doesn't matter what I say.
And now we're treated as something that's called Afternoon Yak in the Simpsons universe, but it is obviously a parody of The View. If you are big fans, they have some commentary about the various characters and whatnot, but I didn't feel like mentioning it.
I mean, it's a bit scathing. They're kind of pointing out that this is just trite. People doing the same bits over and over again every day to pander to married bored women, basically.
I mean, it's a 2-part satire, 1-part flattery type of deal.
Sure.
Because they are hitting on certain themes of the show, but there was also complaints. And again, watch the.
They make them over too, like the Jewish woman is very Jewish, and the black woman is very black, and there's some definite commentary there.
I also love how Marge mentions how Homer behaves, and one of her complaints is, "We'd be making love, and you would have a mouthful of Hershey miniatures." So that's just wild. And they also show a clip.
I mean, that could be a kink.
No. No. I don't want Hershey. I don't want the Hershey Southside surprise. I'm good. I don't need that. I don't want that.
I do love the crazy things that he used to do that they show.
Well, he has an ostrich business, and his whole idea to
ostrich burgers. Get your ostrich burgers.
And the way he is going to get said ostrich burgers is by punching said bird.
I can't. Carl comes up, or Lenny's he's like, I'll take one. He's like, all right, you hold it down, and I'm gonna punch it to death. Again, and then the visual gag there, Josh, is brilliant.
Yeah, because so this got huge laughs in the commentary as well. The ostrich wraps his necks around and starts punching Homer back. It's just wild. Homer
He's
does
just
some
beating the
dumbass
crap
shit.
out of him. Homer goes, I thought we were friends.
Where did Homer get the idea they could just punch an ostrich to death?
I don't know, but I love it so much. This is one of my favorite parts of this entire episode.
So the next segment in The View, as the two family, Homer and Marge reconcile. Homer promises not to be reckless anymore.
That's the big part, though, Josh, is he says, I'm not going to go ever back to being reckless again.
Boring ass Homer from now on end. And we have a next segment about bedwetting, and Milhouse is yelling at his mom. You told me you were going to Red Lobster.
Poor Milhouse.
I love that so much.
Going on national television to be outed as a bedwetter.
Right.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Poor Milhouse.
Yeah, middle school and high school will not be kind to that starter stash rated out motherfucker.
It's just like, in this episode, he gets shit on.
Yeah.
Almost literally in the last episode.
I
was pretty proud of that one. Listeners.
That's a
literally in the last one.
Craptacular experience. So we have Marge initially being happy, but a weird thing happens, Robin. She regrets her decision.
Well, you see this blissful.
There's 5 boring weeks later. They have a couple gags, right? But then there's literally a thing that cuts to 5 boring.
Nothing's going on. She's like the 911 button has dust on it.
That's that's a great line. That's a great line. I love how we have these like a few bits happen, whatever. And
I do. Wait, real quick. I do love the milk bit where he's like, "You coming to bed?" And she's like, "It's 7:30," and he's like, "I could stand here and argue with you, but then I'd have to get another glass of milk, so I'm just gonna go to bed." I think.
Right, because the whole bit is like, if I talk with you too long, I'll have to get another glass of milk. Yeah. And I love how they're both in bed, and Marge basically like finds the demolition derby for him through like the classic breeze through the window. And
because she's going nuts,
right?
Like
no,
she
she's
cannot stand it that everything's too quiet.
She's
and
literally
like she's like picking at herself
again, literally
because
filling
it's
the
been
itch.
so fucking quiet.
Right, she needs some action in her life. She can't. She she may be a very plain Jane, and that's not talking too much shade, but like she relies on the chaos agents of her family more than herself to keep herself entertained.
You can't be the one to put it all back together if it doesn't fall apart.
There you go. And so she ends up going for the derby, and I love how Homer wakes up. He sees that his wife is gone, the form is missing, and he just shouts,
to be clear, this is like a demolition derby with like cars that are going to crash into each other.
Correct.
And she's decided to enter it.
So we get a station wagon. She's driving her own car, so she can very comfortable.
Which would be brilliant, by the way, Josh, because in these derbies, you actually want to drive backwards and hit people with the back of your car so you don't mess up your engine. And so that car would be great for it, unless the gas tank is back there. Well, we could talk.
Are you speaking from experience here?
I learned that once many, many, many years ago, and I've always been fascinated by it.
I'm going to search YouTube. I'm going to be like, Robin, Demolition Derby. And we're just going to find this old life that you're just pretending doesn't exist.
All right, but don't judge me too harshly, Josh.
Okay. I love how Otto is there with his bus.
Yes.
Right? And then we have an SUV with flames on it. And then a bunch of other cars that are kind of just generic. So
random cars.
You know what two vehicles we're going to see? We're going to see a bus.
Did you notice that, by the way, that the announcer sounds like just Duffman, like unapologetically? Like, drivers, start your engines. And now, smashy, smashy.
The announcer has some fun ones. Drivers, start your engines. Vendors, start your gouging. And now, smashy, smashy. And I love how, like, in the vendor booth, they're like, I'll pay anything. And
I'll pay anything.
You see like a hoodie for $100, a bomber jacket for $5.
Because America, Josh, Americans will pay anything so long as they think they've gotten something that's, scarce.
That's absolutely true. As someone who has bought that, I'm cold and I'm at a rave and I'm going to spend $75 on a hoodie. I've definitely been there before.
Me too.
So at first Marge is having a blast, but then all things kind of like hit and spin out of control. And she starts thinking like, what was I thinking trying to feel alive?
Well, real quick, Josh, is that when she's kicking ass, she goes, catch you later, radiator.
Yeah, no, she's into it.
She's like, oh my God, I hit somebody and then I taunted him. Right. I've never felt more alive.
I also love how like Otto is trying to give a praise, and he uses like the stop thing on the side of the bus to like have it go
because it's tipped over on its side.
Yeah, so we have a lot of fun visual gags.
Stop sign to like push it back over. That is the thing I remember most about this episode is that visual gag.
Nice. And at this part, we get a Homer, Bart, and Lisa showing up. I guess they left Maggie at home. Who's watching Maggie?
Grandpa.
Okay, that's fine.
She's in the car.
I don't know what's worse, Grandpa or the car.
I do like one line quickly, Josh, where when Marge is getting smashed up, one of my favorite lines is, this guy's just running into her, and she leans out, she's like, go around!
No, that's great. That is a fantastic line. Yeah, she's very frustrated and she goes from like Evil Knievel to Karen very quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love her helmet, like her cute little red helmet with the white stripe. I thought that was nice.
I love the line where it gets knocked off and flies to the crowd, and Cletus grabs it. And he's like, I caught a head. Oh, dang, it's been scooped out.
So our heroes arrive, and Marge is like just totally like scared
She
out
needs
of her
help.
wits and needs help now. And
She's in
I love
danger.
how Bart quickly assesses the situation and asks for a beer, and the vendor tosses him with no question.
Because Homer's not allowed to do anything that's bold like that.
Correct. He's trying to like keep his promise to Marge.
He hasn't been doing this. He doesn't know how to do it anymore.
But the one thing, as we all know, that will take away promises is alcohol.
Is beer, especially with Homer. I love it.
And I love how Bart asks for a beer and is tossed one with no questions asked. This is a 8-10-year-old boy. Here you go, Sonny.
Here you go, Sonny.
Yeah, and all right, so I am not going to try to explain this to too many people, but I will say this. We are about to enter Popeye territory.
Uh-huh. Popeye the Sailor Man.
And Homer has Popeye-like powers in this segment.
He does.
The replacement for spinach is beer. So Bart squeezes the beer in, and then Homer gets superpowers, right? And
well, he just said they do the classic Popeyes animation of he squeezes the can.
Correct.
It shoots out in an arc, and it goes straight down Homer's gullet.
And the exact same music and all that other kind of stuff.
And his muscles grow big.
Yep. And we have...
And he starts talking like him, too. Like, I got a whisker and my ears.
So we have him riding in. And he also gets on top of a donkey. But I'm going to ask you to roll clip 5. Clip 5 if you can.
So many things.
Quit banging my wife!
A man on a donkey! Never in my 6 weeks on the job have I seen the likes of this!
So that gives you an idea of the level of ridiculousness that is happening at this moment. Okay?
That's great.
Another line that is fantastic is shortly after that, the mule runs out of steam. And Homer gives another beer. He's like, oh, looks like I need some fuel for my mule, some gas for my ass. And then he pulls out another beer. And, you know, the fun hot take and change of pace is instead of the donkey having Popeye-like powers, it immediately falls asleep.
It just passes out.
Yeah.
And Homer goes, looks like I need no, what does he say? He looks like a little angel. Now to save me much.
Yeah. He's continually doing Popeye-isms.
Popeye is terrible, Josh.
He's doing Popeye-isms throughout the entire bit.
Oh,
and
great.
They even have like Marge just being animated like olive oil with like the squiggly arms and like, help, Homer, help.
Anybody under 30 listening to this is not going to have any clue what we're talking about.
I don't care. Google Popeye, you young people, and figure it out.
It's a formula.
And so like Homer obviously saves her just in the nick of time. You know, the other, bad SUV with the flames and everything like that knocks it over.
Explodes.
And Homer's and Marge kind of reconcile, and we immediately get that rubber band re-snap where everything gets snapped back into the original position that they were in. Homer will continue to be the wild child, and Marge will continue to be the faithful wife who gets him out of everything. And if it wasn't for her, he would have died years ago.
That is true. I love her line. She says, the family needs a live wire.
Yes. So you may have heard very few comments here on the DVD commentary from this episode because there's not really a lot to talk about. The majority of this episode involved them shouting out their wives' individual businesses and enterprises. Which is fantastic. Like, go support those businesses. Listen to but it had nothing to do with this episode.
To pay extra for the DVD commentary.
Yeah, so this was like, well, no, not. I mean, I'm still happy to have this. This is one of my favorite later episodes. But it was a little disappointing that the DVD commentary wasn't really about the episode as much. It was just about them kind of joking, which is fun, but not like insightful.
I thought I really enjoy this episode a lot. I think it's well written. It is it's tight, especially compared to the first episode that we talked about today, and follows a narrative. There's not a lot of it's not like side plots put together like that was.
Correct.
I think it's a great study of Homer's character and his relationship with Marge.
And even Homer's potential, much like when we were doing
the Hank
Scorpio episode, You know, like when someone kind
Yeah.
of believes in him and like, or when he kind of gives other people a chance, you know, he is more than just like a
He
reactionary.
has the depth.
Correct.
It's his actions
Correct.
that are the problem.
Yeah. No, he's bound to his emotions, but he also has the same emotions that allow empathy,
Yes.
you know, and understanding. But the problem
Emotional
is,
intelligence.
when you're going as loud as Homer does, sometimes
Yeah.
those emotions get drowned out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's like with Bart is, you know, listening to his son, you know, who is, you know, could use it, like in this episode and the other episode. It makes a huge difference in their lives.
Yeah, and I like how it was more of a focus on Marge and Homer versus like
Hmm.
the kids and Homer.
Yeah, kids are definitely kind of secondary in this whole episode, which
Yeah,
is good.
and it allowed Marge to kind of explore herself as well, and you know, have a moment where she can just be happy and accepting in this community without having to clean up the mess that her husband. I think of earlier episodes where they have a party and Homer is looking down the dress of Ned Flanders' wife, Maud, you know, and she's mortified, or like Homer like shows up to something else, and or like
Oh
even
God.
in this episode, as they mentioned, like with the donkey, like right riding backwards into the cake. So it's nice that Marge can feel like a quote unquote normal individual.
It is telling that I'm trying to remember like specific instances of Homer being an absolute jackass, and you can't
Right.
because you just had to like any given scenario. He's an absolute jackass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
What up?
do
So
like.
do you have any other final thoughts for this episode?
I do think that what struck me is in both episodes is that these characters are so well written. They didn't
Yes.
stop at some point and say these are just caricatures. These characters have depth, and I think that's what makes this episode work in the way that it works. Is that we know these people, we see them go through change, go through struggles, go through conflict, and see them have to work through that and resolve it. And that's going to be trite if you don't have that depth of character that they put into these characters. And I was thinking about that watching this, and it blew my mind. 35 years of exploring a character that, you know, these characters that I love so much, and their relationship and how it's, you know, gone through all of its challenges and come out stronger each time. Is really, really, really something.
Yeah, it's a fascinating look even between the two episodes that we picked, you know, given the discrepancy in season numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the brilliance of the show, and one of the things I think that makes it last longer, is you do reset to the core family, to the core
You
town.
do, but I would put it up against, say, like the Family Guy, where
Right.
I don't feel like I've learned anything new about the characters necessarily. They're just the same as they ever were. They have not, and I don't see that in The Simpsons, where early on Homer was that caricature of Ralph and moonlighting, and becomes really somebody who is complex and has all of those levels to him, which I adore.
I mean, at the same time, the Simpsons are not shunning away from Homer or any other character being needed to fill a role for the moment.
Not at all. And I don't think those are mutually exclusive.
No, both things can be true.
Yeah.
But so my final thoughts on Jaws Wired Shut. Fun story. I like Homer behaving himself for once and letting somebody else fill in the spotlight. You don't get full jerk mode in this one. You know, his underbelly shows a little bit of the softer side.
There, literally in the beginning, there is the funny gag where they have 6-packs in the gay pride parade. It's like, oh, I have a keg, and he puts it up, and somebody runs over. He's like, oh, put it away, and brings over like a Chinese screen to put in, like a silk screen to put in front of it.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that silk screen in my Uncle Michael's apartment back in the day.
Exactly. I know it well.
You know, it was fun to see Marge enjoying herself at the formal party bits, and even the Popeye ending, I thought just cracked me up.
Yeah.
I might have been in one of those moments where I was just really in a need for very silly animation, but that finale, once the
It's
kids show
great.
up to the derby,
Yeah.
it just firing all cylinders on my account, and we get some great Duffman jokes as well, including one of my favorite ones ever of just again, Duffman will never die, only the actors who play him. So
Duffman.
so this is a fun surprise, and it was one of those episodes when I am going through the entire catalog. It's kind of like a nice little refresh. You're like, oh yeah, the show's still good.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Good
Well,
job, Josh.
well, thank you, Robin.
You're
And
welcome.
do you hear that sound?
What's that, Josh?
Well, you know what time it is. It's the
Crusty
brand
seals
of approval. All right, so we have 2 new episodes to rate. I have some lower scores this time around. What do you give your episode, The Debarted?
So, we're still figuring out the scale. I'm trying to reserve 5 for the creme de la creme, and 1 for just the worst. But I think I'm going to give it a 1. It is definitely fun and watchable. Like it's I enjoy it very much. But I thought that it was, in terms of writing, it was a bit uninspired. In terms of the acting and directing, it was uninspired. In terms of I don't know, the thematic pieces of it were kind of uninspired. But I mean, I enjoyed it very much. I watched this episode for the first time 5 times, and I enjoyed it every time I watched it. So that said, I think that I can say this just not really one that I would seek out unless you're particularly fond of The Departed, perhaps. Was that too harsh?
The reason I said wow is I have the exact same score.
Oh, there you go.
It also cracks me up now that since we started this game, there's only been one time where we have a different score so far. But that might change with Jaws Wired Shut. No, I completely agree. I was on the fence about giving this a 1 because it's my favorite show ever, and I don't want to be a negative Nancy, so to speak. At the same time, I don't ever need to watch this episode again. There's a couple cute things here and there. I'm sure Bart's being a prankster again, but it just didn't really hit for me. And as I said at the top, maybe if I was more of a fan of the movies it was based on, that would be a different story.
I think this doing this, it was fun to watch this episode and talk about it here.
Yes.
So he's, but if I was not doing this, it's not one that I would seek out and write down.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's no hate here at all.
I don't know, Josh.
And I think we're just both trying to cope with the fact that we're kind of like, oh, we like this thing, and
we're also trying to establish this damn seal of approval rating system.
Right. So far, you only move twice. 5. The Departed 1. That sounds about right.
That's right.
So for Jaws Wired Shut, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. Mostly because of the Popeye joke that I love so much. And I also like the line when they're dancing together and Homer is just like, I'm horny. It just kind of cracks me up because it has just a fun Marge and Homer story.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to do with them breaking up. It doesn't have to do with some kind of extreme like family emergency. It's just the two of them kind of growing a deeper appreciation of each other and Homer showing a better side of himself. That said, it is fine. It's not like one of those ones that I'm going to go back to over and over and over again. But I do enjoy the overall package.
I also gave it a 3. And I think that it's a great episode to watch. It is not inspired writing. It's more inspired in its animation and some of the fun bits that we got, like Popeye, but they're not as cohesive as some of the better great episodes. So, with this, it is an excellent episode. It is not the definition, which is 4s for me, and it's not the best of the best, which is 5s for me. But it is a really great episode, Josh. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and watching it was a lot of fun.
I also feel like
they were dirty as hell. What the hell?
It is very horny. It's a very horny episode.
Very horny.
But I also feel like the intros were kind of like double cold open, right? Because like you start off with Homer in a hammock, which leads to a pride parade, which leads to them going to the movies, and then the actual episodes start. Yeah, so it's kind of very disjointed at the beginning, but then like once the jaw is wired shut, we're off to the races.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's why I give it more of a 3 than a 4 and a 5, is because the opening could be the opening of any episode. It could even be the opening of a clip show for all we know.
Exactly.
Because it's just all kind of over the place.
Random.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a wrap for Sacrilicious with Robin and Snerts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're feeling generous, then please leave a 5-star review with a few sentences. We are currently on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So usually I do some shout outs, but I was lazy and didn't kind of advertise this podcast at all. So I'm going to give you a fun fact about the 4th of July. Did you know that John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on the same 4th of July in 1826? Well, now you know. Happy birthday, America. Wait, what's that? There's one fan out there still repeating, reposting, liking. It's Dr. Mockford, the raddest fan of them all.
I bet my Wookie.
There you go, sir. There you go, sir.
The raddest fan, the doctor. We love the doctor. Got you another Ralphism.
Do you want to hear from Yeah, we'll try. We'll come up. I don't know. I like my bet my Wookie. I think that's fun.
I bet my Wookie.
Excellent. Want to hear more from your old pal Snerts? Then check out the PlayStation Experience on your podcast platform of choice. I can also be found on most of the things at Lord_Snerts. Robin, any outros or plug?
I want to just make sure to give a birthday shout out to my mother, whose birthday is tomorrow, July 1st. We're recording on the last day of June. She died in 2016, but is certainly not forgotten. That's a laughable concept of my mother. And her birthday is tomorrow. I've been thinking about her a lot today, and I miss her dearly. And we'll celebrate it with my family tomorrow. So happy birthday, Mama.
Happy birthday, Mama. Our goal is to get the next episode out Sunday, July 21st. Robin's pick is Homer's Barbershop Quartet, and I picked The Surf Sons. So until next time, folks, smell you later, true believers.
Craptacular.
Oakley doakley.